welcome. I am so happy you're here. And I am sorry for the you're all outside like me, like, come on, someone open the door. Good to see you. And welcome to this, I think it's penultimate, is very rare. I get to use that word, session of the Gateless Symposium, which normally Suzanne hosts. But I am your host today because she is doing teacher training. And also, this was a session we're going to talk about studio and about the practice of regular writing. So we're going to do it. I see we've got a ton of people here. If you would, this is what I want to know. Here's what I want to know in the chat. First of all, just type me if you're, or write the word first. If this is your first time in this session, like the symposium sessions, because there's been a bunch of them, first time. And also is this your first exposure to Gateless? So if you're a studio member already, or you've gone on retreat, you're not new. I got news for you, but how about other people? Susie Merrill, this is not new to you. Vanessa, you've been on retreat. Well, I'm thrilled to see these people that I knew, not first exposure, but first time here. Fantastic. Yes. So put in there first, because we're not just talking about this facet of Academy, which is why I assume you guys are here, right? That you have interest in doing a book-long project. Talk to me about what's the reason that you feel, and this might not be true, but this is what our brain says, right? What do you think the reason is that you have not either started, made headway, or finished your book? And many of you have and are. And I don't assume you're in a bad place, like you're failing. It's not my point. My point is, I want to know what is in your mind about where you are in the process of writing anything, let alone writing a book. That's what I want to see. I want to see all the chat. What word would you use to describe that, about how you feel where you are in the book? What do you think? Oh, yes, of course. Perfection. The only thing standing between me and success, perfection. I get that. I want to see some of your other reasons. By the way, for those of you whom I have not had the pleasure to meet, my name is Terri Trespicio, and I am a Gateless certified instructor and founder of The Studio, which is a real-time live virtual writing membership program. And this symposium is part of the lead up to Suzanne Kingsbury's Gateless Academy. So let's be clear, okay? Suzanne changed my life, changed many people's lives here. She minted us as instructors. And then I said, what am I going to do with this thing? And I went on and did lots of different projects with it, and now have created this entity called The Studio, which I own and operate. Suzanne's flagship program is the Gateless Academy, where it's a way to scale her incredible knowledge and insight and genius into how to approach and shape and craft a book, regardless of what shelf that book sits on. That is her genius. She created and codified this critic-free, judgment-free approach, and it has a real code of ethics and a code of behavior for why we do it. And I know a lot of you already know that. But so this program, the Academy, she's been holding all of these symposium sessions so that you could get a sense of who's in the community, what are the kinds of things we talk about. And she next week is going to be leading a Q&A. So I'm going to ask that questions that are specific to the Academy program, we save for Suzanne to answer then. But what I'm here for is because Suzanne and I decided to team up, and she said, Suzanne does not love leading like virtual salons all the time. Like this, she's not trying to do the Academy and run a million virtual salons meaning workshops like this. I 2 years ago said, I would love to do that. Like we create what we need. I need a community. I needed a reason to sit down and write. I know a lot of you do too. And so that's where the studio came from. And she said, oh my God, cool. Can I just have our Academy students go to studio? Because when you're in her program and learning how to craft the book and learning she has lots of like different mini lectures you listen to that are brilliant. And she has luminary calls, but then where do you go to write? You need a time and a place. Could be any day of the week in your house, but you know how that goes. We need to have time set aside. And I want to congratulate you because you've already done that. You've already showed up today. And Suzanne we talked, of course, before we did this call, before I came on this call. And she was saying, make sure that you remind them that they should really be very proud that they made time to be here, because most people don't. And you're here. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I am going to zip through some of these. Oh, of course. Um, I want to write a sequel, but I haven't sold the first one yet. Oh, write the sequel anyway. Write it anyway. Lack of direction, structure, clarity. Don't know how it ends. Stalling partway through. Figuring out how to tie it to present day, your project, right? I'm wall-eyed, which is, I love that. Murphy, who's one of our Gateless instructors, and Murphy's been in Gateless a long time. I've been in it, and so has Daisy, over a decade now. I'm 500 or more pages in, and the edit. Wow. Just finished expanding my manuscript for the publisher. Signed contract. Diane, good for you. Beginner here. It's okay. There is no hierarchy. Do you notice that? We don't have freshman classes, sophomore, senior classes. A lot of you in proposal stage. I spend all day writing about my client, employer, yes, and wanting to have enough inspiration to tell my own stories. I think you have plenty of stories, right? But it's like, how do you plug that in? How do you get that plug in the wall and have it going? I know I have a book, or at least an article, and many things inside of me want to get out, afraid it won't sell when I'm done. You know what I'm going to say about that, Melissa? We put that for later. That's future Melissa's issue. But we can't worry about that now, because if you're worried about a sale before something's done, guess what you're not going to do? Write another word. Terrified of starting, creating a memoir. Oh yes, hard feelings. That's a whole other thing. And Suzanne talks a lot about that. When you're writing memoir and you get stuck on, what if someone thinks this? And I know Suzanne would say, write it all anyway, because you have to feel you know it. Writing down is not a sin. You're not hurting anyone by writing things down. When you choose to publish and are about to send a thing out the door, yeah, then you think about those things. But you write down everything first. We have lots of different projects going on here. So many chapters. Needing an illustrator. That's a great problem to have. So many words. And there was something else I saw in here. Juliet wrote it. She said, I keep writing new stuff. Is that what you said? Do you see that one in there? Oh, I'm spending too much time writing new stuff and being a perfectionist rather than just getting it done. Well, as you'll learn today, writing new stuff is actually the way to get stuff done. Now, I published a book a few years ago called Unfollow Your Passion, which was never the plan. That book was not my plan. I didn't know what I was writing. I went on retreat after retreat because there was no studio yet. And I wrote and wrote. And I said, Suzanne, how do I know what this is? How do I know when it's done? How do I know what to sell it as? All the same questions that you have, right? And she said, talk to me when you have 80,000 words. Talk to me when you have more. You have to just keep writing. And it sounds like facile advice, like, oh, keep writing, honey. But honestly, it is the muscle. It is the thing. There's no day when you're finally in shape, right? You must keep moving. If you want to write, you must keep writing. So one of the things I want to talk about before we dive in and give you an experience firsthand, and you are going to get to practice a little bit today. These are called salons, when we do a little prompted writing, which is the main part of what a salon is. Salon, I use salon and session interchangeably. We're not doing a full salon, as that would take a lot longer, but we are going to do some of it today. But some of the things I promised Suzanne I would hit, and I want to answer questions about it too, as this comes up. And I'm looking in the chat as we talk. And I also have, by the way, Daisy here. Daisy and Christina and Serena are here on this call. They've been doing this a while, and they are also all instructors in the New Rules Studio, which, as I'm saying, if you ultimately decide to do the Academy, it is part of that membership. So it'll be good for you to hear from the teachers too. And because we are tight-ish on time, what we're going to do is, when we do get to the part of the session where we do feedback, I'm going to have most of it in chat. I'm going to call on the teachers for feedback, because I want you to be able to hear how we talk about the work, just so you can hear how it's modeled. Okay, here's a good one. See, partially writing in someone else's life story that intersects with mine, and I haven't chosen a voice. Do I write in their voice? Do I write in my voice? These are all great questions for the Academy about how to think about those things. So I am not the person to ask you, to tell you right now how to write your book, let alone your novel. Like, that's not it for me today. But I will tell you what worked for me was to write and write and write, participate in workshops where I would occasionally get to read my stuff. And what I found was when I heard the feedback, it it resonated for me because the things people commented on in my own stuff was exactly the stuff I loved writing the most. That kind of alignment is to not because someone else knows better than you about your work. It's the whole goal of this is to make you, to give you agency in your work so that you know when something's good, so that you are in control of that because you are the writer and you are your first editor and it is your work. We have the sense that things can be or should be fairly linear. And I'm going to take that apart. But let me tell you this. I wrote and wrote random stuff, not in any order. I just kept going back to the scenes and the issues that moved me, that I felt like writing about, frankly. If someone had said, here's outline, write these things, I had to slog through it, I would never have done it. But what it ended up being for me, I'm not saying this is going to be your experience, I ended up writing lots of things. And then the most fun part was reading it, laying it out on the floor and going, what is this even? And assembling it. Do any of you guys like puzzles? Assembling it like pieces to a puzzle, only you're also inventing the puzzle as you assemble the pieces. But when people say, how'd you write your book? I never sat down and wrote a book. I wrote lots of different things. And at the end, I assembled it like you would if I gave you a pile of jewels and I said, turn this into a piece of jewelry. You then figure out, well, what looks good this way? How do I arrange it? That's for when you have amassed a lot of material. And if you have 2,000 words, 4,000 words, and you're thinking, well, I should know what comes next. You might not. If you're someone who works linearly, and some people do, where they love to move right through a plot, they know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to get there, that's great for you. I find that most people struggle in that structure. And now let's get to the life in New York. We're just going to hear a lot of sirens because that's life. Here's what we think. We think we have to plan, write, edit, publish in that order. Of course, it's hard to publish before you write, but we think writing comes first, then you write it all, you hand it to an editor, they'll tell you what's good, they'll fix it. Nope. The editor at a publishing house or an editor you hire, that is so far down the pike, I don't even want you to worry about it because they're doing the cleaning up and the pulling it together. And yes, if that's where you want to go, you will do that, but you are your first editor. And so the goal of writing, I see some of you writing this, that, and not sure. Should you fictionalize it? Should you this? If you have to pick a lane and pick this voice or pick this thing or pick this thing, you will suffer analysis paralysis and you might not do anything. And so what we say is that the goal of writing isn't just to produce writing. And this is where the magic is for us in the Gateless method. It is that when you learn to associate pleasure, comfort, even excitement with writing, then the act of writing feels good. For a lot of you, writing already feels good. And it's like, oh, this is so fun. It's the decisions where you think you're going to mess it up where it doesn't feel as good. Well, I don't want to do this because then I'll be stuck in it. We look at it like we're like this when really you can do anything. Now, the idea of writing first, editing second, what Suzanne said is make sure you drive this point home. So it's coming right from her. Make sure you tell everyone, understand that generating is ongoing. You're never done generating. So when Juliet said, well, I just keep writing new stuff, great. Some people come to the workshops and they find they're writing the same scene over and over again. And they go, gosh, why do I keep writing this thing over and over again? This came up in discussion recently. It's fine. It means you need to write it over and over again because you're still figuring it out on some level. And every time you write it, maybe you write it a little differently, right? The act of writing can feel just so fun, right? But also so fulfilling because you're actually being expressed, you're self-expressing, even if you're doing it through the voice of a character. So the reason why doesn't everyone just have their books done and then come to Academy and then finish it up? Because it doesn't work like that. If you decide to do the Academy, you will generate all year. Just ask Sheena Cook. I don't know if she's on this call, but she just finalized her book. Her books are happening now. But for many, many years, she was writing books and that one didn't sell right away or she wasn't sure what to do with it. She put it aside. She'd write another one. That's why I said write your sequel anyway. You don't wait until someone else approves of it. She just kept writing. Okay, we'll write the next one, write the next one. And then when there's a whole, I'm jumping ahead, but she finally found the right person to represent her work. And there were a lot of wrong people before. She found the right person, and that person said, okay, here's the, now they're deep into the editing of the manuscript. He said, you're missing about 15,000 words around this storyline, which you need to add. 15,000 words. She said, okay. She knew exactly at that point. Now, this novel's almost baked, right? She came to every studio session for like months, like weeks and weeks. I was like, oh my God, she knows on every session. She came and she wrote every time. And by the couple weeks she was finished, she had written the 15,000 words. She tied it up, put it into the manuscript, handed it off, and the guy said, cool, you're done. And she signed with HarperCollins and Hachette, right? I might have gotten that wrong. 2-book deal. Now, she waited a long time and suffered waiting from the wrong people, but she generated and generated. So for those people who tell me, well, I'm not done. I don't need to generate anymore. I'm done with that. Actually, the act of writing is how you'll understand the work. So for people trying to figure out, well, what's the voice? Suzanne says, write in your voice first, then put it in the voice of the character. Talk to the character if you're writing fiction. What does the character want to say? Write it in their voice. Write it in all kinds of voices. Write it in a British accent. Doesn't matter. As many ways as you can get into the work is going to serve the work. Suzanne said, make sure you tell them writing fires good endorphins so that you feel good when you're writing. And it can help with, she says, blood pressure and immunity and all of these things. I'm going to say this. You don't learn basketball by reading a book about basketball. You don't learn a language by reading about the language. You learn it by speaking the language. That's how you learn languages. You learn stand-up comedy by performing stand-up comedy. You could watch a million stand-up comedy specials and never know how to do it until you start doing it. That's the scary part, right? Writing, as Natalie Goldberg says, writing does writing. There's no shortcut around it. How do I wrap this up real quick? If you in your heart of hearts, I'm pretty sure this is not you, but if in your heart of hearts you say, I just can't wait till I'm done with the writing so I can get this thing published, I got to ask you, why are you writing? Because if your goal is to not be writing, then maybe you should not be writing. And if you say, no, I love it, but this is so hard and I hate this part, are you writing in a way that's fun for you? Are you writing against a rule you set for yourself that doesn't have to be that way? What is the writing and where are the rules you seem to be maybe hemmed in by? What are the rules? What are the expectations? We cannot give a flying fuck about what anyone thinks about the writing while we're trying to write. There is nothing to break. You cannot break the work. You cannot ruin the work. The worst thing you can do is quit the work. Because as Sheena also told me, one of her professors told her when she was years ago, said, it's not the most talented writers who are published. It's not that they're better than you. The people who get published, if that's your goal, are the ones who didn't quit. There's tons and tons of incredibly talented people who it was hard for a minute. And they said, oh, my feelings are hurt. I don't know if I want to do this. And maybe they shouldn't do it. The only way to guarantee that your writing won't go anywhere is if you stop writing. And P.S., no one writes continually. You're a human animal. You got to pee, you got to eat, you got to live your life. Anyone who does things that you envy or say, why can't I do that? Or I want to do that. The only difference between you and them is that you both stopped to eat dinner, but they started again. You stopped to go on vacation, but they started again. So don't tell me it's too late. Don't tell me you can't do it. You can't figure it out. You may be just stopping and not and pretending it's for another reason. How wrong am I? How wrong am I? Yeah, Daisy says, keep going, keep going. I had to hang up a long time that I can't write fiction because like Daisy writes fiction, because like Sheena writes fiction, or other people do, or I didn't major in fiction. And I got an MFA, which by the way, you do not need, but I got an MFA in poetry. So I guess that rules me out. This is such utter bullshit. Great writing does such great writing that as long as you do it, you can do exactly whatever you want. So I want you to experience this yourself right now. Then we're going to hear a little bit. And then I'll stay past 5. We'll stay till, a little bit of time because I want to be able to answer your questions. I don't pretend I know everything. I will defer to Suzanne for all the things I don't know and to my fellow writers and teachers here. But as far as doing regular writing, there is no other way to get it done. So why not do it with us in a controlled spot of time? In studio, we meet an hour. We have 4 sessions a week. You can drop in any hour of any time that they're available when you're an Academy member or a studio member, but we're talking about Academy here. And while you're working and learning, you can always come and have a place to do it and do it safely. So let's get into what we do. What do? We get into the prompt. In order to get into the prompt, we got to get out of our heads. Now, I was recently on retreat with Kelly Anderson, who has a real gift for drumming. And that drum was something else. I'm not going to drum for you right now. Unfortunately, we can't do it. I wish we could, Kelly. But I'm going to ask you just to do another thing, the next best thing, and just quiet. I'm not going to speak. And I want you to just feel, as Kelly says, the drum is in you. You can feel it in your body. And you can pat your heart or just hold your hand over your heart and feel for that rhythm. Put your feet on the ground, your hands in your lap or on your chest, however you want to do it. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do that. And I want you to take a huge breath. And this is the last on purpose breath we'll take. And just let it out. And then let your breathing return to normal. And I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds here and just let your body's rhythms fill your ears. Let everything you're worried about fall to the floor. Turn your attention to your feet. To your knees. Move the attention up the body through the joints. Your hips. The bottom of your spine. Feel that energy rising up your spine through your internal organs. And imagine you're just sending the bod some love, like truly positive thoughts. We're so mean to our bodies. Feel immense gratitude for the body that's keeping you seated and comfortable right now. Pull your shoulders up to your ears and drop them. Relax your jaw. Relax your ears. Bring your attention to the backs of your eyelids, to the top of your head. And I will give you your prompt. Now, for those of you who are new, there is no wrong way to do this. The best way, though, to make it easy and fun is to go with whatever image or scene or object or person comes up in your mind. You don't sketch out an essay here. You just go, boom. You say the word in your head, and if it pushes you in a direction, even if it pushes you in the opposite direction, that's okay too. Okay. Your prompt is the word shadow. Shadow. A time you saw a shadow. Maybe a time you saw your own shadow. Maybe it was Groundhog's Day. Or you felt overshadowed. Maybe you faced off with your shadow self, which is no joke, or you freed your shadow self. You might start with an image of a shadow and go off on a whole other tangent. That's wonderful. I'm going to give you the next few minutes, less than 10 minutes, just to follow that prompt and try not to let your brain and ego get in the way. Just let her rip. Okay, we'll give it another 30 seconds. I know you're in flow. This is just a taster. I was just looking at the comment here. It's that Michelle left. I don't feel like I'm writing, but rather just expressing my feelings. No finesse to it. And that sounds like maybe a little bit of the critic, right? Oh, it's not finessed. Not to put words in your mouth, Michelle, but sometimes people think, well, it's not anything. It's not finished. It's not useful. It's not good. This is why we learn craft. Of course, you want to get your feelings out. Of course, you want to get all the juicy stuff out. And then that's what you work with, right? That's what you work with. To then craft is a separate thing. Feelings are a thing, and they're critical to making your writing connectable, right? Vulnerable, something that people can relate to and enjoy. And the craft part is where we get better and better at using language to shore it up and make it a thing that we can hand around. That I think of craft as a very concrete thing. And you're going to hear about that right now, because what am I doing with my spotlight? No one needs that. Hi, there we go. Let's see everyone's faces instead. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call on people, and you're just going to read what's on the page. Now, we have rules for how we do this, and some of you don't know these rules, and you're not going to remember them once I say them. That's okay. I will make sure to, remind you of those rules. Number one, if you're called on to read, you do not have to read. You can just go, not today. We don't disclaim our work. So you don't talk about your work. You don't say anything. You just read what's on the page, and then you stop, and then you say nothing more. And then we don't talk to you. We talk about what we heard in the work. This is to keep the writer separate from the work, which makes it easier to have a relationship with your work. You can't have a relationship to something that is you. That's hard. Easier this way, safer. We don't offer criticisms. We don't ask questions, and we don't make suggestions or comparisons in the comments in the chat, right? We don't do that. We also don't talk about ourselves. So if someone just writes a piece about climbing Mount Everest, I don't go, oh my God, I did that too. It was so true. Well, most people haven't climbed Mount Everest. So no, it doesn't matter. Writing makes everything universal. And also, if we talk about ourselves, we're turning the attention away from the writer, and that becomes unsafe feeling, right? So that's all we're going to worry about now. Let's just jump right in. I always invite someone who has never done this before to go first. Oh, absolutely. Nana Goldberg is in my blood, Kimberly. Absolutely. We adore her. Is there anyone here who has never read in a room like this, never done anything like this? Those people, I want to give them a chance. Raise your hand. Allison. Allison is new to us. It's nice to meet you, Allison. Why don't you go right ahead and start reading, and we will comment in the chat.
Thanks, Terri.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm probably going to cry.
No, it's all right. That's a good point. If you get emotional, you're fine, right? That happens, and we listen, and we do not worry about you because you're strong and you're doing the work. Go for it.
Thanks. Shadows, overshadowed. Feeling overshadowed by smarter, more affluent, more attractive women who are established in their real careers. Facial aesthetics like Botox or Medi-Spa, IV drips, and other shots, which I'm sure I would really benefit from. Or they are PTs, physical therapists. Now, DPTs, real doctors become physical therapists, is so much more accepted than acupuncture. Despite the factory-like style of treatments, I feel overshadowed by this culture. This culture's doubt of my talents and abilities, that I'm a witch, which actually I am, but I try to camouflage it, disguise it. That despite being a mainstream yogi and Pilates instructor, a very experienced one, that my students that are in pain or dysfunction would prefer seeing a surgeon, taking meds, or even considering surgery. Overshadowed by the doubt of others, overshadowed and overwhelmed by the doubts of others. the overshadowing of the culture that has them conditioned to stop listening to themselves, their inner voices, their intuition, and like sheep, follow the doctor's orders, and real pain meds and weird procedures. Stop.
Allison, thank you. We welcome witches here. I could not be happier to hear of witches here. This is fantastic. Now we point out what we heard, what we loved, and the craft of it. I'll start, and I'm going to come to Daisy or Serena, whoever there can pop in. I loved the repetition of shadowed, overshadowed, and then the list of the things, women who are affluent, attractive, successful, then the list of the specific kinds of treatments, Botox, Medispa, IV drips, and it goes through, and it really is a kind of commentary. It gives us the whole view, the landscape of that which is overshadowing the kind of self-knowledge and intuition for which this writer is an advocate, right? Daisy, thoughts? And also, sorry, am I putting on spot?
No. I'm going to see if I can like make this make sense. It's like almost like the narrator doesn't trust herself or feels overshadowed or inadequate compared to these other people. But then it's almost like the people who she's helping as a
Yes.
acupuncturist or yoga teacher, Pilates instructor, they also feel like they can't give in to maybe what's really helping them because they also have this sense of needing to like consult with the experts, the medicines, the surgeons. So it's like if both of these characters could sort of meet honestly, they might actually help each other. But they're
Yes.
both, in thrall to this culture. I think it's up. That word was there, the culture.
Yes,
Yeah.
the culture. And that's a fascinating. Now, there's an example. Now, Daisy's been doing this a long time. Not everyone is expected to have a comment where you're like, oh, do you notice this? Especially when you're new to listening to this, right? Be like, how the hell did you pick that up? We've been doing this a minute. You might just have said, I loved that moment of I am a witch. Love that statement. But I want to point out and be gateless about the gateless feedback, which is, and maybe we didn't see that. I didn't see that at first, is that it starts with a doubt of the self on the part of the speaker and then turns to connecting with the doubt in others about themselves too. So we see it's not her versus the people who would rather see a surgeon. It's the people who are being taught and encultured to not like how they look, to think that they don't fit in some way, and that there's something wrong with them, that they don't want to do the surgery and the payments. She's seeing that the disconnect in her and the feelings of doubt, she sees it in other people. And that's incredibly empowering because we want someone who can see how people are being taught to ignore and dislike themselves. So the piece is a real living example of that. Fantastic. I love it so much. Allison, thanks for being first. Anyone else who I can go to who has not done this, has not read in front of people in a minute? Lisa? Hi,
Hi.
Lisa.
Hi. Sure. Oh man, shadow. This is a good word. Someone recently just said to me, a coach I deeply respect, that I might want to get curious and dive into a particular shadow of mine. Huh? What's she even talking about? This was also after she had said that she picks up very witchy vibes for me when we work together. My witchy vibes? Is she referring to my witchy vibes as a shadow? At first, I felt a little judged, maybe like questioning myself. I don't find myself outwardly witchy, nor would I call it a part of my shadow self. Am I thinking of this all wrong? I've been repressed and oppressed for lifetimes, lineages, not just myself, but all the women who came before me, generations I know of and generations I don't. We all have that common thread of being repressed and oppressed, of letting our men oppress us, of not speaking out, of falling in line like a good girl, playing the backup dancer while letting our men shine. Oh, now I get it. This part of my shadow, the one who is still hiding, the one who, although has made many, many strides and huge leaps, is still suppressing herself. The one who is still not fully her whole self, embracing her amazing feminine witchy side. This is what she meant. She's encouraging me to get curious about this side of my shadow.
Oh my God, I am loving this theme. Like the word shadow wasn't like, by the way, write about how you're a witch. It's like amazing. This psychic connection. When we write together, sometimes themes just rise. I mean, we didn't know, right? So it's not like everyone wrote about that, doesn't matter. But I love that the speaker says this is a good word and recollects a moment when someone said, you might want to get curious about that shadow, feels judged, and then realizes later it's not a judgment. It's get curious. That is a source of power. And it goes right there. I don't find myself outwardly witchy, but maybe I'm thinking about it all wrong. And then it zooms way out to lifetimes, lineages. We all of a sudden zoom out on this like drone camera and see all of the ways in which we are descended from revolutionaries, And then the comment about the backup dancer is great. Kelly, do you have a comment you want to share? Kelly's another trained teacher.
I've just got boys screaming in the background, so it may not be the ideal time for me.
Oh, no, it's okay. Fine. Christina, are you there?
I'm
Oh, there
here.
you are.
I'm
Yeah.
here.
I know you love
crazy
this
about that.
subject, so
I I'm crazy about this. I love how the voice in this piece, it rose and rose and rose, and to the point where the shadow is identified, that I've been repressed and oppressed for lifetimes. This idea of letting our men oppress us. It's like
Mhm.
it's a huge statement that rises in this piece.
Mhm. It really is.
Mhm.
And you see how, I mean, just listening to, there's a lot of ways to think about craft, and we think about, and the point of this is to realize craft is not something that someone holds behind a wall and you have to pay to get it. Craft is something you already know, because I'm assuming since all of you are writing in this room right now, you also read, and I'm not being snarky. I mean, you know how to read. You've been reading a long time, which means you've absorbed it. You know how to use these tools, and you might not even realize you were using it. I just wrote something quickly. But yet there is craft there. I love those two words together, lifetimes, lineages. It just comes out. It's fucking magic. But we tend to think, well, I don't know how, I don't. In fact, you know what? I'm going to call her out right now. I'm going to ask Michelle if she would like to read, because Michelle was being hard on herself about not having a finesse. And now I feel like I want to prove a point now. Michelle, are you willing to read? And it's okay if you don't, by the way. You don't have to get into this battle with me.
Terry's yelling at you.
You're there, Mish L. I get like this sometimes. I get all worked up. All right, you don't have to read, honey. I was putting you on the spot. Is there anyone else who says that Jen Cole? I love that comment. I love these comments I'm seeing up there. Thank you for that. Karen Rubenstein, how do you feel about reading?
Sure. I haven't read here.
Go for it.
Trying to read my writing. I'm like writing again. It's like
I
when
know handwriting
like,
is tough.
what is this? So
Go for it.
I didn't know what shadow people were until I lived in a recovery house with 14 other addicts and alcoholics. Meth users see them, dark figures that flicker in their peripheral vision after too many sleepless nights. I learned more about drugs in that place than any suburban housewife should ever need to know. My crash course came from a housemate who'd once been a brilliant college student before dropping out of an elite university to major in meth and minor in surviving the streets. She struggled in recovery. Unlike me, I don't think her rehab stay had been voluntary. She was a routine runaway, slipping out at night until our weary house manager would scour the neighborhood in the druggy buggy and haul her back, shaking her head and swearing it was the last time. That's about as far as I got.
Oh my God. Please, druggy buggy, amazing. I love when we get like lingo from someone's world. That's another thing when we get those words, Thank you, Karen. Now you get to relax. And that part that really stuck out at me at the beginning is that flickering in their peripheral vision, right? Such a haunting sense of like something there, but not there, a haunting, the shadowiness of addiction. Little tiny world building. Yes. Amazing turns of phrase. Janice, do you want to comment on that? Is there one that was a favorite or something that stood out
I
to you?
mean, it's hard to choose what was a
I
favorite.
know.
The Druggy Buggy. I mean, what else did she say that I loved? I wrote a couple of, the major in meth and a minor in surviving the streets. I mean,
Oh, I love that.
it's kind of incredible that anyone could come up with these turns of phrase so fast. It blows your mind. The writer must have been so deep in this moment, in building that world. And I learned more about drugs in that place than a suburban mom. Each sentence was so incredible and so fresh. I just hadn't heard any single one of those sentences ever before.
And that's so exciting. You
It's
wrote
so
something that
exciting.
no one's written, right?
Yes.
That's so great. Great comment, Janice. Yes. And as you can hear all the different voices, and how do you create voice? Well, you listen to the rhythm. Like when you're listening to someone, the voice on the page, like what's the rhythm? Is this particular voice choppy and jaunty, or is it lyric and sort of heightened? And it might shift, but we're hearing a kind of, I hear this expertise, the seasoned feel behind this speaker. She knows of what she speaks. Janice, did you feel like reading today?
Oh, sure. Okay, let me get to it. Hold on. I don't know where it went.
It can't have gone far.
No, it can't have gone far. You're right. I just think I tucked it away. Okay, here it is.
Okay.
At first, I saw what looked like a shadow sitting there on the fence, the shadow of one of those giant leaves from the bird of paradise tree. But then it hopped to the ground, spreading its wings, making all kinds of rustling sounds as it tried to hide under the leaves. Wait, what? Was that a hawk? I registered the crows then, that they had been cawing, and now their cries were ascending into the air, the distance. And suddenly, as I watched, the hawk popped out from under the tree onto my patio, where I could see it perfectly from my window. His yellow ringed eyes darted to the left and right, and I knew he sensed me watching him. His curved beak a scythe. He dipped it down between his claws to tear at the fur he stood on, a squirrel. Quickly, he picked his head up again, worried about the watcher, but again his beak bent to rip and surgically excise the muscle from first one leg and then the other. The hawk was beautiful, creamy feathers of his tummy dotted by dark brown, and then the dark brown of his wings and back dotted with cream. His head and neck's an even mix of both, and those black eyes, smart and wary. He kept working on the squirrel, releasing red flesh and gray fur from a spine that poked into the air in a matter of minutes. His feast, even as my eyes feasted on his private moment so few get to see.
Oh,
Sorry.
gosh, beautiful. Oh my gosh. Like talking about the language, this beautiful, like close up, zoom in on this bird of prey, right? At first, it looked like a shadow. So in this case, shadow, we see all the different ways that people use prompts, all different ways. It reminded the speaker of that. Spread its wings. We get rustling sounds. We get cawing and cries. And then the bird is right there in front of you. One of my favorite lines is his yellow ringed eyes darted, his curved beak a scythe. Beautiful. Again, like vivid. Yes, the shadow of the bird in paradise is a bird. The crows, the hawk was beautiful. I'm reading your comments. Beautiful imagery and this sense of the relationship between this wild animal and the speaker, worried about the watcher. The hawk doesn't seem like it would be worried about anything, but it's very tuned in. And then even in a kind of rich and beautiful way to have a beak excising muscle, it's rather gory, right? But somehow it puts it in a, you could write it as a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like there's a million ways to do it, but this beautiful, like cycle, we're seeing the cycle of nature that happens over and over again. His feast. Love it. I just my eyes keep going to this person. I want you to feel, I wonder if this person can pick up on it because sometimes they know I'm going to go to them. How much does Jennifer Wilson think I'm looking at her right now? Because I am. Did you think it was you? Come on down. You're the next contestant. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised because I was typing and I was saying Terry's calling on me. I know it. When you said that, and then you said, you know who it is. And I said, I know anyways, but I'm not.
I knew it. We're a bunch of witches. I love it. We're descended from witches. You don't have to read, Jennifer, but I was looking at you.
You know what? It's interesting that you called on me because I'm not comfortable doing this, and I've only read once before. But
Where did you read before?
Here at one of our Gateless sessions. I think it was one of Kate Baldwin's.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you're not comfortable, that's okay, but it is a safe place to do it if you'd like.
Yeah, no, you know what? I decided I'm going to challenge myself and just put
Yay!
myself out there. This isn't my comfort zone. And I was just revising. So I'm just going to read, no explanation.
Just read it. No expectations. We're all rooting for you. We can't wait.
Here we go. He lays quietly at the foot of her bed, waiting patiently for her to stir. The routine is never the same. Will this be an early morning chock full of snuggles and meditation, or will it be a mad dash out of bed, signaled by the command "okay," which means no time for affection, quick walk around the block, only to be left alone for hours on end? He looked up as she sat at the edge of the bed, feet on the ground. Her movements were slow, yet intentional. There was no command. He knew what this meant. He found his spot by her side as she took in deep breaths. 20 minutes of breath work and gratitude, his favorite kind of morning. As she stood up, he bounced off the bed to follow, eager for breakfast. He approached their morning walk with joyful enthusiasm. As they neared Olive's coffee shop, he checked her vibe. Do they have time for a treat, or is her gait rushed? He sensed her slowing down, and he just knew it was a treat day. He sat obediently as she climbed the stairs to the door, and his mouth watered as she dipped her hand into the special box that held the endless biscuits.
Oh, I love this. What a beautiful portrait of an interesting perspective, right? Of the character that is the human and the character that is the dog, right? Well, just to say for that's what it sounds like. I love the routine is never the same. And this assessing, right? Animal assessing of, is this snuggles? Is it meditation? Are we mad dashing? And then we're getting it from the perspective of the animal here, right? Of seeing the animal reading the movements and then bouncing off the bed. It was just sort of delightful trying to, have the animal suss out what kind of day it is. Serena, are you here? I want to get Serena's take if she's here.
I am. I'm here. I just loved the kind of luxuriousness of it, and it felt like the language, kind of the sentences were long and kind of luxurious, and it just really dropped us into the scene, and into the body and like into these moments. And then the beautiful details, like the saliva of from the dog's mouth, and even the moment, like there's this connection between the writer and the dog that is so beautiful. It's like we really get the sense of this companionship that they have. And even from that moment. But I also love the beginning, that we get a few lines where we just get a he, and then we realize that it's a dog. And I love that it's kind of, we drop into the scene in that way. And then and I love that detail, the 20 minutes of breath work was his favorite kind of morning. I just thought that was so fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Serena.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to take a moment here to come back on for a sec, Serena, if you don't mind. I know you don't love it, but and actually I don't have control of the Zoom because I'm a guest like you guys, so I can't move things around the way I want to. But if you would raise your hands, you can actually drag their pictures. You can do this. Click and drag people's pictures around on the screen. I'm looking for Daisy. Daisy, where are you? Oh, Daisy, there. So I just dragged them to the top, but I don't know that you're seeing that. Serena and Christina and Daisy. So if you guys all wave your hands, we can see. And is Murphy? No, Murphy went to bed. Murphy leads our Friday sessions, but she's in Paris, so it's rather late. You three have been instructors in the studio since it started, which was 2 years ago when we started. And you've had now many, many hours of listening and prompting and watching writers come to life. And I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'd love to hear from each of you if you could. So let's start with Days, just because I'm going to bully her. Days, tell me a little bit about what, we've talked about this a lot, but what never ceases to surprise you? Like, you've been doing this for years now on
I
these
mean,
virtual sessions.
just that like I lead Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. and people just show up. It's like there's 30 people like we all just decide that we're gonna like come and create this space together. And we have like a real flow. It's just like we jump right in and we write and we feedback and then we're like, bye. And it's like if you get in your, your Pilates class or whatever, it's just like, you've touched down and you've written. And everyone is so generous with their listening and their time and their commenting and their stories. And people just like, it's like I get to enter these little worlds, like every Tuesday morning. And oh, sorry, now I'm going on, but it's like every time I call on, we hear like 4, 5, 6 people. And it's like, I can't imagine if like I hadn't heard that story today.
I
But then of course
know.
there are stories that we haven't heard, So
I
it's
know.
I
I
just
know
love
it.
it. Yeah.
Can I actually go to Kelly Anderson since she's here? Kelly is also a trained instructor. She's been with us for a minute. Kelly is a novelist. She has a book coming out at some point. I don't want to like blow up your spot, Kel, but Kelly is someone who writes a lot. She belongs to lots of different writing communities, I found out, but she never fails to show up here. Kelly, tell us why. Are you able to?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like in the noisiest house, so I escaped so that I could
Okay.
actually talk.
We don't hear
But
anything.
yeah,
So
I feel like I'm probably the biggest advocate of studio.
you're very advocated.
Yeah. There's, as someone who for many years wrote by myself in my house, like I could write for 2 weeks and probably generate the same kind of scene that I will generate in like 30 minutes in the studio.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's possible, but I do all my writing in studio now and even just when we just did the prompt right now, I was like, I worked all day. I'm so tired. I'm not going to write.
That's right.
And then I came out with this thing. I was like, oh my God, this is so important. And I don't know how it happens. But there's something like much deeper going on neurologically and in like the shared field. And
Yes.
when everyone wrote about witches, I'm like, of course, this is what happens. And it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful to be here. And
Thank you,
I
Kel.
just wish every writer could be in this community. I think it's the best place.
Thank you. And that is the goal, right? I mean, not everyone can go on retreat and everyone can, but this is something that is scalable and shareable, which is why Suzanne was like, Academy students absolutely have to be writing all the time. And Kelly's very modest. She's a beautiful writer. She's just endlessly creative, so in touch with her. I got to spend some time with Kelly in person, so I got to feel that positive energy. And the fact is, she knows, and the way you say it, this is what I love. You can talk about your work and write something and love it, and it doesn't sound like a lot of people like to put
You're
their
a
work
jerk.
down. Yeah, like you don't feel like you're a jerk. Like, oh, I wrote something. It was such shit. It's like,
but I think it's because it comes from the whole group. Like it's like
you're tapping into the whole field, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like not even yours. It's like, it's bigger than you. Yeah.
Everything about this process and the method, no matter what, it's studio, academy, whatever path you choose, is designed to open that aperture up because it's like this most of the time, right? You can't get at it. So a lot of what we talk about, and this sounds, like maybe a word you don't use all the time, but we do think of it as a kind of channeling, because the other option that I have to fucking dig some shit up that I'll hate, that doesn't sound fun. I like the idea of opening the trapdoor and letting all of this stuff come through. And I want to go to Christina and then Sheena and Serena and anyone else who rhymes. Christina.
Yeah, I guess my fear is that people will think I'm putting on when I say this because every time I lead a studio, I am amazed by the quality of the work. I mean, just by the things we hear and the quality of it. It's like hearing little pages of the novel or memoir in the like when I leave, the work haunts me for the rest of the day. I think about it because it's amazing to see what people can do in 20 minutes. It's almost like better than having
Oh,
2 hours straight. Like it pressurizes it in a way that people create these amazing things.
yes. And no, yeah, Christina is not full of shit. She's the least full of shit person that I know. And this is not like, oh, well, they had to say something nice about it. I don't have to do shit. I don't have to do any of this if I don't want, neither do you. But it is moving. Why? Because we're also training ourselves to look for what's working, what Suzanne always talks about, right? The reticular activating system, the part of your brain that looks for patterns. If you decide everyone's work is shit and your work is shit, that's probably what you're going to see. But since we look for what's working, we start to resonate with it more and more. And it actually makes all of our writing better. We are all, everyone, better writers for having been there. Sheena? I know you have thoughts.
I've always have thoughts.
She always has opinions.
I do have opinions. So I have two opinions.
Okay.
And one is, I think I was telling Terry this a couple of weeks ago. It's that the going into the body part at the beginning, I discovered is so important because number one, I think it does. I do think your stories are locked in your hips or your or something, and the going into the body part unlocks that. And I've discovered if I'm late to studio, like if I arrive even like 5 past the hour and I miss the going into the body part, I write anyway, but I notice that the pieces are much more on the surface. Like
Mhm.
I haven't got to where the what as they say, the spirit meets the bone. That
Oh,
part.
interesting. Where'd you,
Yeah.
is that a thing? I've never heard that line. Did you just come up with that? The
I,
spirit meets the bone is like the
I,
most beautiful. Someone write that down. Use it. That's amazing. I love it.
I've
I
definitely heard
probably
Sheena say this before, so I feel like this
I
is
love
this
it
is
so
for Sheena.
much.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I don't think I invented it, but let's pretend I did. And
Okay.
also the other thing I discovered was that editing the novels that all these pieces go into, very, very often the piece that comes straight from studio needs the least amount of editing. Because in that piece, like there's not much time, and so I don't write any extra words. I basically put down the bare bones, and so there is not much to delete. And also the length of time. I think somebody was asking this on the last retreat. It might have been Susie Merrill or something. Susie, um, and she was saying, "Oh my goodness, how are you people doing this complete piece in this time?" And I think your body learns the amount of time you have, and it's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, I need to get to minute 19, which is when I'm gonna write the purest, white hot, most honest thing I've ever written.
Yes. That we talked about that, Sheena.
I
We
think
were
we did,
saying that
yeah.
like it's not like I'm looking at the clock every second. It's not like that. When you write like this in these little hot sprints, your body starts to adjust to like a gateless clock where you know you don't have time. So you don't waste time. If I gave you all day to write to something, it would be so hard, but we do it in a pressurized way. And it really does come out like white hot. Serena, did you want to share anything about your experience leading?
Sorry. Um, I just I just think it's incredible. Kind of you said something earlier, Terry, about, the fact that we're making time to do this. And I just think it's amazing. It's such an act of courage and kind of creative courage that people make the time for themselves to come and write, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. And
Totally.
it's just amazing to be there and facilitate it, and it's always so fun for me because then I get to drop a prompt in and see what happens, and there's always this crazy synchrony that happens, and the writing is just amazing, and people surprise themselves, and we learn craft, and we just have like a grand old time,
Yeah, it's true. And also, a lot of the world isn't all that friendly or kind. And it's just nice to know what you're walking into is a room of people who are so supportive. Now, to be clear, if you're in the academy and you have studio as part of your enrollment, you're in our studio sessions, you'll be with people who are not in academy, but they're in studio. It's very consistent in the field. Like this does feel like one big community to me. It's not like, oh, those academy bitches. Like there is none of that here, But I want to go to Katie Baldwin because Kate works with Suzanne and you're helping with the academy. I don't know, Kate, exactly what you're doing there, but I want to give you a chance to talk about it a little bit.
Sure.
About the academy.
Sure. So can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm doing, if you're in the academy, you'll get once a month salon with me. That'll be with academy students only. So it's slightly different from the academy in that it's a kind of inclusive group, but it's going to run exactly the same way. Actually, let me take that back. It's going to be slightly different this year. We're tweaking it so it will be an in-progress work salon. So you'll be able to read a piece of work that you've written already and bring that into the salon. And then everything else runs exactly the same way with the same feedback, pointing out what we love and what's working and where the craft is. And it has the same sort of ebullient feeling that this salon that we just did together, and that feeling of the field is present every time. And I don't know, just like everyone's been saying, it always just blows me away.
It really does.
The synchronicity of the pieces is it happens all the time. It's really,
it happens all the time. Sometimes I'll have two people write about like Uncle Ken, and you're like, two people had an Uncle Ken and wrote about him today. So I put in there the link to the academy link if you're interested in applying. It's not like, well, I don't know, am I good enough to get? It's an application process because, it's a process to see who this is a great fit for, and I am going to put this link in there, but don't get it twisted. This is not a pitch for studio because this is about academy, but all the information about it, including the schedule and stuff, is on the studio sales page. But I'm not asking you to do that right now. I want you to see what studio is about so that you see what you're getting with academy. For now, that is what we're doing. But I want to open it up to anyone either who wants to make a comment about their experience in academy, anyone who was in academy last year who came to studio. I would love to hear about what that was like, because that was the first time we did that. Anyone here has done that? And maybe not. That's okay. Thank you, Lori. Any questions for me or comments? Like, how did this feel for you today? Like, are you feeling like, oh, that was scary, or was it fun? How do you feel? Anyone can come off mute and tell me. An adventure, always an adventure, right? So fun. Jennifer Wilson, what workshop were you in with us before? Remind me. Was it a Suzanne thing?
Yes. So I joined the
Yeah.
academy.
You were in the academy. Okay, good. Yes. And some people do the academy more than once. I did it like 3 times. I mean, when I'm further along, I will probably do it, again. I just love being plugged into it. And Ray, fun, opened up my mind to concepts rolling around in my mind and the chance to explore them. Oh, Kelly was saying that she was writing while she was tired. And I will wait till I'm tired and go, oh, well, too tired. Good night. And I'm like, too late. And so I started being like, okay, you just get to write something like just blah, blah, blah. Don't even look, just write, just so you know where to, I tricked myself. Just write something so you know where to pick up later. And then I'll write it. And then as I'm writing, I keep writing. It's like magnetic. Once you start and you get in that flow, it's actually hard to stop. And every time I use like a digital notebook when I'm handwriting, and I'll look down, it shows how many pages I wrote. And I feel so good. It's the most productive part of my day. If I was supposed to send 5 emails and I sent them, somehow that doesn't feel as great as looking at how many pages I generated. Coral, was this your first time with us? Forgive me. I don't see your face. Maybe she's not on right now. Am I not looking at her? Yeah. Well, if no one has questions, I am happy to let you go. But I wanted to thank you all for coming. I'm so happy to see you, Janice and Janelle, Vanessa Cutie, Susie Merrill, Federico, Desiree Stanley. I hope you guys will at least reach out to, through the application process, just to talk to Suzanne and to see like if this is where you're at. You do not have to have a finished manuscript. You do not have to even know what the book is. I didn't even know what the book is till really honestly after I sold it. That's another story, but you can write your way into it. The only thing that I say is important for someone who's doing academy is you should want to work on a book length project. That doesn't mean everyone should, but that's what that's for. So if you're saying, well, how will I know how to write it? You might decide to hire someone later to help with this and that and the other thing. But first, you've got it right. There's no way around that. And that should be the best part. So thank you. And thank you, Sheena. And congratulations again. She really fucking nailed it. Vanessa, please keep writing, please. And just generate and generate your beautiful stuff. Allison, you were so great to go first. And we're so happy to have you here. Thank you. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye, guys.